What's going on, family? Welcome to the Beatdown. It's 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Boy, I'm excited today. I'm excited. We got a good show. We got a special guest coming on. But before we get to that, we're going to go with the man who's so stylish. He brushes his glasses and combs his hat. This is the Badger.
What's going on, bro? How you doing? You gotta relax with all that kind of stuff, bro. We don't need that, man.
I'm trying to let people in. They wonder how you stay so pretty. And I was trying to let them know.
I drink a lot of water.
And the fact that you brush your teeth with a celery stick. I mean, that explains explains a lot.
We do those that can do generally.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. And those that can't wear hats. Look, I'm excited about the guests we have on. Want to remind everybody about the fight coming up Saturday. We don't want y'all to forget. We're not getting off that. Hopefully, we can get into the discussion with our guests about the fight as well. But yeah, I'm excited about this weekend, bro. Really excited.
Yeah, man, it's big time fight week, man. Boxing is back on the real stage. And listen, this is a good fight. It's gonna be a better fight than people think. So hey, I'm here for it, man. Hey, this is our weekly therapy session. It's Thursday. It's downhill from here. What we got going on today, bro?
Look, we have a world-class elite boxing aficionado trainer as our guest. And it's like there's no need to keep, delaying the process. I'm saying we just need to bring him on so we can get this whole thing kicked off. Would you like to introduce him?
Hey, let me do the honors. I ain't gonna make it long because he don't need a whole lot to tell you who he really is. If you follow him on Twitter, social media, he is a Renaissance man. He's a world-class trainer, and he's a hell of a father, man. Let's give it up for the Breadman, Stephen Edwards.
Hey, well, that special effect worked. You must be good luck.
How y'all guys doing, man?
We're doing well. We're doing well. We thank you so much for giving us this interview. We really appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys for having me.
So, I want to get right down to the meat of it, the real technical questions. How'd you get the name Breadman?
You ever see a movie called Cornbread, Earl and Me?
Oh my goodness, yeah. With the orange soda when he got shot running up the street.
You got it. You got it. You got it. I could play ball back in the day. And when I played for my high school team, man, I went crazy in like one of our first games of the season. It was a real big game, and they just started calling me that. And then what happened is, as I got older, I started gambling and stuff like that. And instead of the corn, everybody just said bread, and then it just stuck. And then that's how it happened.
I love it. I love it. I would have never put those two together. I love it.
Mm-hmm. It's like a two-part nickname.
Yeah, people have to understand, man, the hood rules that go behind this kind of stuff, man. If the hood don't give you a nickname, it don't count. So yours must have been justly earned. So kudos to that, bro.
Yeah, it's legit, man.
and it's a good name, Breadman. I mean,
yeah,
that's the first name that came to mind was the kind of bread we associate with the hood. But I'm like, no.
Yeah, it transformed into that as I got older because it was cornbread when I was like, as a teenager, like 14, 15. And then as I got older, it transformed into that.
Okay. I mean, you're going to make me go back and watch that movie again. I love that movie.
So, Coach, man, before we inundate you with the boxing one-on-one questions that we have, I would just like to give you opportunity, man. I see a lot of your stuff on social media because I follow you. And you do a lot with your children, your son and your daughter. Can you just speak on the feeling that you get from seeing your children succeed, not just on the field or on the football field or the track, but your children's academics as well? Talk about what that means, because you do a lot of that, man. I think that should be noted.
Man, you know what? It's like the biggest pleasure in my life. It really is, man. Like, I don't know if I ever get more emotional as at one of their games or track meets or just anything. Like, to see them succeed is just like, man, it's such a big deal to me. And it's just authentic. I don't even understand why. Like it just is. I just love my kids, man, and I just want to just see them do the best that they can. And just in life in general, because I'm not gonna always be here. You know what I'm saying? So I want to make sure that they're gonna be okay and be able to do things after I'm dead and gone, man, and be able to support themselves and just know that I was always there for them in every way. Whether athletics, academics, morally, just everything, man, is just really really important to me. I just it's just important to me, man. I lost my dad when I was really young, and I don't think I overcompensate for my kids, but my grandfather kind of like stepped in place of my dad because I lost my dad when I was 3, and my grandfather he was like that with me. Like everything that I did, he was like always there for me, made sure I was cool, make sure I had my sneakers. But I used to go to the gym, he'd come down, watch me spar, just every little thing. He was always there for me. So, I just try to take it to the next level with my kids. I teach them about hard work. I know I get on their nerves, but I reward them. You know what I mean? If they work hard and they do different things, we'll go to Target and buy a video game. It's just really important, man. I just see that society, when sometimes people got money and parents take the lazy way out. Everybody asks me questions like, how is your daughter so fast? How can your son do this and do that? Man, I take time with them. That's how they good. Like they born with God-given gifts. But like I'm not lazy. I wake up, we go to the track, we go to the hills. My kids could do the same workouts my fighters could do. You know what I mean? We work, so I do that, man, because when you're successful at something, that builds your self-esteem. And my kids, whenever they walk on any court, any field, anywhere, if they're not the best, they're among the best. You know what I mean? It's like they don't walk around with their head down and things like that. They go out there expecting to win and expecting to be good. And that carries over in life. I can tell a kid that's played in organized sports. I can tell a kid that had a certain kind of discipline with their parents. And I could tell a kid who hasn't. I train fighters, man. And there's a difference and the type of fighters that you have as far as the type of parents that they have. You know what I mean? So, it's just important to me just to be there for them. And it really just come naturally, man. Ever since they were little, um, they've always been good at sports. And I've always had to tell them that you know, while you're not working, there's somebody else out there that is working. So not only, you can't just rest on your natural abilities. You know what I mean? Like my daughter, she's number 2 in the country right now in track, and as a 9-year-old, but she's not number 1. So she had to realize that there's somebody out there that could beat you. It took a long time for her to lose, but she had to realize that, and it was humbling. But she took it on the chin. And my son, he's been the MVP of his pound in football, but next year he might be in for a rude awakening because he has to move up because he's getting older and he's getting
Oh,
bigger.
yep.
So we gotta work hard, and I gotta let them know that it's gonna change as you get better. The other kids are gonna get better. So man, a lot of things that I always tell my guys, that my fighters, that the boxing ring is a truth machine, and the things that you do with your kids, man, it shapes their future, believe it or not, in a lot of ways. And I think that one of the reasons why I'm that I've been able to make it in this hard world that we're in is because things that was instilled in me as a young man, like getting up early in the morning, that don't mean nothing to me. I used to have to be at basketball practice at 6 o'clock in the morning from my high school. We was part of the segregation program. So I lived in a black neighborhood, and they shipped us all the way out in the white neighborhood to go I went to elementary, junior high, and high school. So we used to have to be at basketball practice 6 o'clock in the morning, and it took me an hour to get to school. So when I got fighters that don't want to wake up 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm like, man, you can't want this, because that's not a big deal to me. You know what I mean?
Right.
So my kids are probably spoiled in some ways, but overall, man, I just get the biggest kick out of them doing good, man. When this COVID went down, I tell y'all a story quick. I don't mean to ramble.
No,
but I
you
caught
good,
the
bro. You good,
COVID.
coach. Go ahead.
I caught the COVID July 28th, and my daughter was running in the AAU. My daughter and son was running in the AAU Junior Olympics in Satellite Beach, Florida, the following week in August, and I couldn't go. Bro, it was like a funeral for me, man. Like I literally, man, I like shed a tear. I couldn't believe that I couldn't go. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to be
Right,
around nobody with the,
right,
I'm
right,
ethic, you know, I got ethics. I wasn't gonna get on a plane with the COVID, man. It just
right.
tore me to pieces. But they like kind of got me through the COVID. Like I was like watching them on like one of these kind of apps to watch their
Mhm.
events, and it was just like, man, but I don't know, man. I just think it's cool to be an active dad, man. Some of my friends, they got kids, but they don't put them in no sports. They don't do nothing with them. They just buy them stuff, man. And I just be like, man, there's so much more to it than that. But, you know, I can only live my life.
I'm glad you touched on that, Coach, for real, because I'm probably the oldest one of the three of us, and I, I, I bet you I got the youngest child. So
Don't be so sure about that, man. I graduated in 94 from
I
high school.
graduated in '91.
Okay, you got me then.
Yeah,
All right. All
yeah,
right.
and I got a 5 year old. So
Okay.
yeah, it's kind of a cool trick. I always wanted children, but I sure wish I was young enough to not die playing with them. Um, but I get it. My daughter, we put her in dance, and I was like so proud the first time I went to one of her recitals, and she did the toe point correctly. And she was the one following directions, and you'd have thought I was at a football game. I'm like,
Yeah, man.
oh,
It's
baby.
it's like you gotta have like self-maintenance so you don't like be like the jerk parent that's like trying to fight referees and stuff like that. So you gotta have some self-control about it and stuff like that, man. But man, it's not easy when you're talking about your kids, man. You got to show a lot of self-restraint, man.
Well, see,
You really, really do.
that'll work for me. It's my wife that'll be the one fighting the referees. So
Okay.
we've already agreed. She'll sit in the car, and I'll just have her on the phone so she can see whatever sport she's doing. It's not, yeah,
Okay.
wouldn't be good for her to go to jail during the event. So how? Okay, basketball. How'd you go from basketball to boxing?
You know what? I grew up in a family of real big boxing fans. And unfortunately, my senior year of high school, I dislocated my knee. And we was in the middle of an undefeated season, and it really like put me down more, like just my morale was just down. And I really wasn't ready to stop, just being an athlete. So I just started going to the gym, and I still was playing ball, but I just started going to the gym. And I was tall. I was 6'3", and I was only like 155 pounds. So I kind of had like a little built-in advantage. I was doing good, um, just sparring, just training, just working out, sparring, training, working out. Now I wasn't living the lifestyle of a fighter, I was, dating girls and doing things like that, probably drinking and running the streets and things like that. But I just liked the competitiveness of it. And I did it for maybe 5 or 6 years on and off. Fought a couple little exhibitions. I was just more doing it just for like recreation. Like I just didn't want to stop being an athlete at 18 years old. And then as I got a little older, some opportunities presented themselves for me, and I got back into it as a trainer.
6'3", 155.
That's what I was leaving high school. I'm not that now, man. Nah.
I mean, wow! If you could have maintained that weight, you'd have been dangerous.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And I was in good shape too, man, because you got to remember I was just playing ball and running. I was pretty strong guy, I was pretty fit. I could run a mile in under 6 minutes. And I just was just like, man, you know, I don't want to stop playing sports and doing the things that I wanted to do. And then when you out in the real world, you in college, you got things to do. I wasn't able to fully dedicate myself the way that I wish I would have did it as early as I started playing ball, because if I did, I think I would have had a better result.
Understood.
Man, that's crazy. Well, Coach, I'm gonna get into some of the questions that a lot of the viewers want to know and a lot of other people want to know, including me and this guy over here. So I'm gonna start from the top. We interviewed one of your fighters about 4 months ago, Kyron Davis. He was a pleasure to interview.
Yes.
Different type of swag, different type of kid. I like him a lot. He's doing the ring very soon, right? Is it next weekend? Is that correct?
Um, Man, Karan's a great kid. Unfortunately, he got diagnosed with the COVID about 10 days
Ah,
ago. Yeah,
ah,
man. And it really man, we was having the best camp. He had came down and wait. We were supposed to headline the show on December the
yeah.
16th. And it just gutted me, man. I'm in the house now. I think I get asked for a lot of interviews, but I think when he was asking me my interview, I was like, I didn't know what my schedule was going to be because I usually train him around this time of day.
Mm,
And I'm just hoping that he doesn't get too down on himself and
mhm,
let his weight get out of control of everything. Cause soon as he gets negative, we're gonna go back to working out, but yeah, man, I noticed that he was dragging around a little bit maybe last week. And I'm like, you all right? And I'm like, damn, I know I'm not overtraining you because I monitor that kind of stuff. And I'm like, you think it's the weight? Because he had got a little bigger during the COVID
mhm,
than he should
mhm.
have. And next thing you know, he tested positive, man. That's Karan's a great kid. One thing about him is that man, I got a lot of experience doing a lot of things. And one thing I know about people is sometimes people give you props on where you from.
Mm,
And what is in you is not all the time on you. Karan's a kid, comes from a two-parent household. His father's really successful, his mother's really successful, but Karan's a dog. He doesn't walk around like, talking about how much he been to jail and stuff like that. But he is a dog. He's a mean kid. He could fight. He don't have no ticker issues. I really enjoyed training him. If he could get his weight together, I think he can make a little run, man. You know what I mean? I've been training him for the last 7 years, man. He's a great kid, man. I really care about him. Hopefully, we can get right back in there around February and go back to work, man, because he was looking good in camp.
Nice. COVID seems to have disrupted a lot of sports. Um,
Yes.
in your opinion, or your expert opinion, why is it that boxing seems to rebound and just be able to work its way through this whole COVID issue, even more so than MMA?
Um, you know, I really don't know. I've only been in the bubble one time. Um, it's just I think we get into the point now where if you're in sports, it's better to have caught it already because your antibodies are up and it's hard to catch it again. Like I was just around Karan and I'm negative and he tested positive. So my antibodies are really high. I really don't know because I'm not like I'm not on the side of the people that are putting you in the bubble and doing all of the protocols and implementing everything. So I really don't know, man. But where there's a will, there's a way, and there's too much money to be made to let it, halt your whole life and your livelihood and your income. You're talking about millions and millions of dollars. So they figure it out. So I'm glad that things have been going on, but unfortunately, man, Cameron couldn't fight.
What was the whole experience like going in and then being inside and then coming out of the bubble?
Actually, I caught the COVID on my way to the bubble, and when I was in the bubble, I was tested, and I found out that I had it. And this was back in July.
Yeah.
So I don't do much anyway when I go to a fight. I don't drink, I don't party. I sit in my room and I pretty much watch the opponent. So that's all I really do anyway. I might go for a walk by myself, depending on what city or state that I'm in, but you can't because of the bubble. So I mean, it really wasn't that big of a deal to me because that's all I do anyway. So it is what it is at that point. But I found out I had it. We had to leave and I had to quarantine at my house.
I'm gonna jump in there.
So,
Where are you from originally?
Philadelphia.
Go ahead, Badger. I'll come back to that.
So listen, coach. So I noticed that you like to when you post different things when you try to be motivational or what have you. I got two questions for you. See if you can answer them separately, it would be great. Are you a part of the not fucking around crew? And when your fighter goes to dark places, do you travel with him?
That's a go. Yes, I'm a part of it. I invented the moniker, and Dark Places was it kind of has two meanings. One is that when I used to train Julian Williams, we used to get to the track when it was still dark outside. So I used to be like, man, this is dark places. You know, it wasn't light in the morning time when we would get to the track. And the second part of that is like that dark place in your mind that you got to go when you know you really got to dig down deep and win the fight and even get through camp because camp is a grind. You know, it really is, man. You know, people take camp for granted, but that kind of lets you know how the fight is going to go. You know what I mean? If you could really, really have a good camp. Camp is 8 to 10 weeks, man, and there's a lot of distractions. There's a lot of things that's going on, and you really, really got to lock in camp. So I just came up with that hashtag when I first started training Julian because, you know, I would always tell him like, man, we beat everybody to the track. You know, we're gonna have a leg up on everybody. We got to get out here early, man. And that was just something that we just kept. So we just started hashtagging it.
Have you in camp? Have you ever had to help somebody get to that dark place? And if so, how'd you do it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, every day is not the same. You know, sometimes the media and the casuals, they make too much of sparring, man. But I've seen novice guys, I've seen gatekeeper guys, I've seen amateurs beat up world champions or get the better of legends. You know what I mean? Some days you're dragging, some days you're not feeling good, you know, and sometimes you got to have a talk with a guy, you know, and let him know, like, I'm not seeing the intensity and focus that I need to see, man. We got to step it up. We got to get it together. And sometimes it's just a day or two. And then sometimes a guy don't have it. You know, it just depends on who the fighter is. But for the most part, I can kind of click the switch on the guy.
Okay.
Now, you brought up a name, and I was going to wait for you to say it. You said Julian Williams' name, so now I can repeat it. Coach, you guys have been together or have been together for quite some time. You are probably, and correct me if I'm wrong, the best little brother, big brother relationship type duo that we had seen in a while. Can you let the fans know what caused you guys to go your separate ways?
Um, it's just there's a lot of things, man. You know, some of them are personal. But from a boxing perspective, you know, things just changed in our relationship after the Herd fight, you know, and it just they just changed, you know. I tried my best to like over not really overlook them because I didn't overlook them, but I tried my best to get around them because I started training Julian. He was 19, 20 years old, you know. So now he's 30. So things change, you know, family, your priorities, things like that. But you still have to have the same core values and things just change with us, you know. And you know, I couldn't correct them. It just really comes down to that, you know, is people say stuff on the internet, you know, like and just like you hear so many stupid things. I abandoned them. I walked away from after a loss. It's ridiculous, man. You know what I mean? I treated that kid like he was my son. You know, I wouldn't walk away from him after a loss. You know, I negotiated his contract after he lost. So how does that look me walking away from him? You know, I walked away from a situation that was just no more good for me. I walked away from a situation where, you know, I felt like that you know, I was being blamed for him losing. You know what I mean? And it just didn't sit well with me. You know, you know, I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna leave it alone. You know, I don't train him no more, so I don't have to make an excuse for him. Julian had the flu going into that fight. And he caught the flu about 3 weeks before the fight, and he chose to fight. You know, I didn't make him fight. You know, I didn't say you have to fight. None of that. You know what I'm saying? None of that happened. You know, he chose to fight. It was a lot of money on the line, you know, and he said, "Is you know, we got time. I feel about 95%. You know, by the time I rehydrate and everything, I'm gonna feel better." So he went on and fought, you know, and then after the fight, I'm hearing all these different things. I'm like, you know, after a fight, you don't want to make the excuse that somebody was sick or whatever, but he had the flu. I mean, look at his performance from the drop off from the Hurd fight to the Rosario fight. It was a huge drop off, and that's really what happened, you know. But there's a lot of things, man. You know, I just wish a mistake that I made, man, was allowing other people around us. That's the biggest mistake that I could say that I made because there's a lot of people at the finish line holding the trophy, but they wasn't there for that race. You know, when that race, it was just me and Julian. That's it. You know, it was just a young trainer and a young fighter with a dream. That's all we had. And when all we had was hard work, it was us against the world. And then people started coming around us. We had a special relationship and they started becoming divisive in our relationship. And there will be a bunch of a dog that'll carry a bone and bring a bone. And there was a whole lot of that. And then it became to a point where it was unrepairable because we both men and we both got pride. And then, you know, you just kind of just, you know, you go your separate ways. But, you know, I never abandoned Julian. You know, him losing the fight, I could that's light in the grand scheme of the world. You know what I'm saying? We, you know, I did things for him that's way bigger than boxing, man. You know what I'm saying? And I don't like to bring up things, but it's just I'm not going to say things specifically, but you know what I mean? I changed that kid's life. You know what I mean? I would never abandon him after a fight. Like I said, I negotiated his contract after he lost. So how could that be an abandonment issue? It was just things that was going on and on and on. And it was like picking at me and picking at me. And then eventually, you know, one day, man, when I'm feeling more comfortable, I'll talk about it. But, you know, right now it's just,
Really understand.
but I just, you know, but I can say this, you know, the kid had the flu. He caught the flu around Christmas time and he decided to fight, you know, and that happens, you know what I mean? You don't, everybody don't go into a fight 100%, but we just couldn't get past it, man. I really feel as though if it was just me and him, see, our circle was so small when we first started out because nobody wanted to be around us because nobody ever thought he would pan out. So we didn't have any entourage or any opinions. The only opinions it was me and him, you know, and then, you know, as things progressed, more and more people started becoming involved. And then those people, you know, they started, it started to be, you know, whispering in his ear and he would start questioning things I was doing and things like that. And, you know, I'm like, man, you know, like, and then you always gotta constantly when you're dealing with certain kinds of kids, you always got to keep showing them how much you love them, showing them how much you're willing to do for them, showing them how much. And I'm like, damn, my man, if you don't know by now, you're not never gonna know. You know what I mean? Like, like, come on, man. You know, I'm not gonna let nothing happen to you, man, or I'm not gonna let you get set up. And I mean, it was all kinds of terms that was being used. I was like, my goodness, you really think that I could do that to you? And listen, this is crazy. It even started with the Hurd fight. It didn't start with the Rosario fight, but we won the Hurd fight. And when you win, it kind of absolves everything. But it even started back then, you know, like, you know, why was I even taking the fight? And, you know, it just it just spiraled out of control. It was like people that was waiting for us to lose. And, you know, he finally lost. And because I'll tell you, man, if Julian's right, and he shows up the way he did for the Hurd fight, he beat Rosario, man. You know what I mean? But didn't work out that way. And you know, man, God's will is God's will. You know, but the situation it just became toxic for me, so I just walked away.
Quick question. Oh, now you've opened up several different windows in my mind. I really want to go through. The first one is, did he have a rematch clause in his contract, and is that normally an automatic when you're a champion?
It's okay. Here's the law: you have a rematch clause unless the person is a mandatory. Rosario was not his mandatory. So yes, we did have a rematch clause. But Julian suffered the cut. If you remember the fight, he suffered the cut. He had scar tissue on his eye for a long time. But this is the first time that it cost him a fight. So he suffered the cut and he wanted to get the cut worked on. So he got a little procedure done on the cut, so we needed some time. So what we did was we negotiated a 2-fight deal where we would get the winner of Charlo and Rosario, but get Julian a comeback fight. So that's what happened with that.
Okay. Um, Listening to you as a trainer and just the personal aspect of it. When you look at, think about what you've gone through with J. Rob, and you look at Mark Brill and the whole fallout with Deontay Wilder. How did that make you feel, just as a trainer who's invested years into people, and then see how that thing felt?
Um, you know, it to hear those kind of accusations was disturbing. And I'm one of those people, I don't know enough about that situation to say what's true and what's not true. So I don't want anybody to misquote me and say I'm on either person's side in that. But just to hear that, you know, your trainer put something in your drink, I think it was, I was like, wow, that's like, if like, but I've been accused of things that I didn't do. You know what I mean? So like, I like, I, I've never been accused of poisoning a fighter. I mean, that's just like unbelievable, but that's rough to hear. But I've been accused of, think I said, like, you know, people walk around talking about I abandoned Julian and all this stuff. And I'm like, what? That sounds Let me tell you something, man. Only times I've cried, and probably the last since my grandmother passed away, was Julian getting knocked out by Charlo, getting knocked out by Rosario, and him beating Hurt. Those are like the most emotional days of my life. I didn't cry when my kids was born because there's a different kind of feeling. It's like a surreal, it's like a calm happiness, like, okay, they're healthy. But I didn't cry. I cried when that kid lost those fights. So when people was like saying stuff to me like, you know, I abandoned them and all this stuff. I was like, really? Y'all really think I could do that to that kid the way I cared about that boy? So I don't know how Mark Breland felt about Deontay Wilder, but I know that to get accused of something you didn't do, man, that's a strong accusation. And it hurts. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, only Mark Breland knows what he did and what he didn't do. So I'm not going to sit up and be the spokesperson for him. But as a trainer, that would kind of it's bothersome to be accused of things you didn't do.
Gotcha.
Well, Coach, listen, I got to ask you this question now because, I mean, you seem to not only be a man of your conviction, but you seem to be a morally straight man. So I know you can answer this question and just be completely unbiased by it. Who's the top three in 154 pounds right now?
Three?
The top three, and we got to exclude the undisputed champ. So the top three right now, who you feel like would make a good round robin tournament, who's your top three?
So I'm excluding Jamel Charlo?
Correct.
Okay. I think the top three right now are Julian Williams, Erickson Lubin, and Jared Hurd.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming.
Wow.
Let me tell you something, man. Let me tell you something. I pride myself on being fair. And I'm telling you right now, if Julian is right, he could beat all of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just that things changed after he beat Hurd, you know. But and he his attitude towards me changed. I don't know why, you know, that's something y'all have to ask him, but he changed. But if he's right and he show up the way he did for her, he could beat all of those guys, man. You know, let's be honest. I'm gonna ask y'all a question. Did y'all think he could beat Jared Hurd like that?
No, not fighting that way. I did not. I did not see that coming.
Exactly, because he got layers to his game that people haven't seen. You know what I mean? But, you know, he's a little hot and cold, and, you know, his perspective on boxing changed. And that's what happens, man. Anybody can beat you on any given night. But I think that Hurd, Julian, and Lubin are the three toughest challenges to Jamel Charlo. You know, I worry about that kid Rosario. I don't like the way he was going into convulsion. Got hit with that shot. That didn't look good to me. So somebody may have to check that kid out medically, man. It looked to me like he was having some sort of spasm or a
Yeah.
seizure or something.
Yeah.
So that could be some underlying issues. So I don't want to count the young man out, but that's a, getting stopped is one thing, but to be convulsing on the canvas, I thought he was dead. I thought he was dying. You know what I mean? So that's tough to deal with. But those three right there, I think, all present really, really tough fights for Jamel.
Can you go into a little bit deeper dive, coach, and tell me why you feel like one, Jared Hurd, if he can, comfortably get back to 54 with a new trainer himself, how you feel like he fares, and Erickson Lubin, who, who's a friend of the show, uh, we think has a lot of upside, but we're not sure if that matchup is good right now. So just give us your perspective on that.
Well, I mean, Jared Hurd is a guy, first of all, he has a great chin. I know the shots Julian was hitting him would have knocked anybody out that night. He has a great chin. I watched him take those same shots versus Landy Lar. Now, Hurd could be a little bit on the downside because I think that he was making 54 too long. But if he can get himself together and stop overthinking, see, I think these guys' biggest problem is they overthink things. Every time they lose, they push the panic button and want to do all of these things. Well, Jared Hurd is always talking about um, taking too many punches and being a boxer, being slick and all that kind of stuff, right? But when he stepped up to the elite level against Tony Harrison, Austin Trout, Landy Lara, right? What did he do? He became a dog, right? He
Mark him down.
became a big, strong pressure fighter. So if you feel like you're taking too many punches, that's fine. It's your health. You got a right to want to preserve your health. But I think that you have to be what you are and be the best at what you are. And if you feel like you're taking too many punches, just retire early. You don't have to stay in this game till you 40. Take the big fights and retire early. Hurd does not have the natural reflexes and the amateur pedigree to try to be a slick guy that's just touching you and stuff like that. He wanted to box in those fights. He couldn't. So he turned into a dog because he got a big heart. He got a good gas tank. He has a good chin. He's a tenacious guy. So I think that if Jared could stop, I like Jared. If he could stop overthinking, work on his jab, because having a good jab helps with your defense. Have a good jab, get a really, really good strength and conditioning coach, get in the best shape that he can get into, work on stop trying to slip every punch. He's a big guy. He could catch some of those punches. He don't have to try to slip every punch and move his head and all that kind of stuff. If he could just keep his feet in place and catch those shots, Jared could beat a lot of those guys. Let me tell you something, man. Fighting that guy is not easy because he don't stop coming. He don't stop trying, and you cannot underestimate willpower. So Jared on the right night, if he could get his weight together, he's a handful for anybody. Erickson Lubin, I think, has the most God-given natural talent out of everybody. He's more talented than Charlo. Just can't beat Charlo. Just didn't beat him when he fought. But I'm talking about what God gave you, natural talent. Erickson Lubin has it over all of the guys. Um, and he was the better amateur. And he is a southpaw. And all of those guys are 30. Lubin's only 25. Sometimes a first round knockout can be misleading. He got caught with a shot. That doesn't mean that's going to happen again. Jamel hasn't caught anybody in the first round with that kind of shot, you know, since or before that, and that doesn't mean that's not etched in stone that Lubin can't beat him in the rematch. Obviously Jamel will be the favorite, and obviously he's the best at 154 and the most consistent, but that doesn't mean he's unbeatable. Um, uh, and Julian, man, Julian is the most well-rounded out of everybody. Julian put on the best performance that any of those guys have ever put on. Now, the problem with Julian is his high may be higher than everybody's high, but his low is lower than everybody's low because nobody has a performance like he had against Rosario. So Julian's a little bit hot and cold. But when Julian's right, he has the most tools in his toolbox because he can win a fight more ways than all of the other guys can. And I think Tony Harrison is also, you asked me three, Tony Harrison's right there. He's been inactive since the Jamel fight. So, but Tony Harrison is also a very skilled guy. I kind of forgot about him. But any one of those guys could beat the other ones on any given night.
That's who I thought you were going to go to instead of Hurd. I don't know why I thought you were going to say Harrison. But I agree with you about Jared Hurd. I just think he was getting the power from his blonde hair, and it started running out. So
Well, you know what? We got to see. Jared Hurd has some serious credentials. He
yeah,
fought Harrison, who is 6'1", can box, got a really good skill set. Trout, only guy to ever stop Trout. And then Lara, man, Lara's a guy people not really lining up to fight. And even in the Julian fight, uh Hurd didn't get stopped. He took his beating, man. That was a beating. He didn't get stopped and he made it hard to the end. You know what I mean? So if Hurd could get himself together, man, and stop overthinking things, I think Hurd could still, I do question if he can make weight healthy because he's a big guy. But I still think out of everybody, Hurd has the most credentials besides Jamel. So I
I
still
got
think he's live in the division.
I got to let you know I took that Hurd loss kind of personal because I'm a Maryland guy as well, and yeah, yeah, I see the smile come on. It's just it hurts because Philly doesn't usually win down around that area that often. So when y'all came in and took that, I was like, I'm usually not a real Hurd fan, but it hurt. It did. I'm happy
that
for
was
it,
a
but it hurt.
that was a happy night for me, man. That was a really, really happy night. I put a lot into that camp, man. There was so much going on, man, and I put a lot into that camp. I really, really crossed every T, dotted every I. I made sure everything was right that camp, from the judges, the money, the ring mat, everything. I had people that was trying to cause dissension in that camp. Telling Julian he shouldn't be. Why is Al Heyman making him go to Jared Hurd's hometown? He shouldn't have to do that and all that. And I had to keep his head on straight. And pulling that fight out was like it was a real big deal for me, man. And despite me not working with Julian no more, I'm proud of him, because he listened to me. And I told him, you got to go down here. You're going to win this fight. And this is not a setup. You have to do this. This is going to change your life. And, he was a little bit apprehensive, but he did it and he listened. And it turned out to be the defining moment of his career so far. So, even though one worked together, I'm still proud of him for that one, man. That was a great night. As you know, everybody in there was against us. When we were about to leave and get on the bus, a couple of Hurd's friends walked past and laughed at us and talked about how Julian was going to get knocked out. And, it was just disrespectful and everything. And, but we was ready and he was locked in. He was locked in, man. And that's why the Rosario thing was so disappointing, because it was like, the energy that he had was totally different compared to that fight in the Hurd fight, and I still think Julian has been, I still think, like, Ring Magazine article on that win when he beat Jared Hurd. And if you really look at the performance that he put on, that was one of the best performances at junior middleweight. I mean, in the last 20 years, I think it's top 10 performances in the history of the division. And I didn't think he got his props for that performance, man. And I really wanted him to capitalize on it in his next fight. But it wasn't meant to be.
So did you get a copy of the belt to put up in your gym?
I got like a little IBO belt, but that's it. I didn't get the other belts.
So, Coach, we ain't gonna keep it much longer, but I would be remiss if I didn't ask you. You mentioned pouring into people. I know someone that poured into your cup, and lots of people cup, especially around the sport of boxing. Brother Nassim, can you talk about what he meant to you and what he meant to the city of Philadelphia boxing?
Y'all not holding me up, man. I don't got nothing to do, man. I'm just chilling. My kids
Okay.
is on Zoom in school, but um, Nazim, man, I feel really bad because I was in the bubble when he passed away, and I couldn't go to his funeral, and that really, really hurt me. He passed away right before I was leaving to go to the bubble, and he had a funeral a short time after, so I couldn't make his funeral. But Nazim meant a lot to me because nobody ever taught me how to train, but Nazim was a mentor of mine, from afar. I liked the way he dealt with his fighters. Um, he was a really positive person. You know, um, he actually thought I was upset with him when Julian fought. uh Jared Hurd. He said, "Are you comfortable with this fight?" And I said, "Yeah, Nazem, we gonna win this fight." And he came back to me a couple days later and was like, "Yo, man, did you take that personal?" I said, "No, man." I said, I'm locked in, Nazem. I said, "I know you rocking with us." And it was funny because Nazem was the first person in the dressing room after we lost to Charlo, and he was the last person in the dressing room after we beat her. He came in out and supported us both times, man. But you could see it was a decline in his health from the Charlo to the Hurd fight. You know, Nazem was my man. He was one of the first trainers that training, man, is a dog game. I mean, it's animalistic. You got trainers that'll whisper stuff to your fighters when you go to the bathroom. Like it's everybody thinks that they're the best. It's just it's horrible. It really is. It's the most low life profession in in sports. You know, I can't imagine other sports have to go through this. And Azem was the first coach in Philly to befriend me, to be my friend and be my colleague and not say bad stuff and not have and he was doing this before Julian Williams became a hot prospect. He was just doing it just like, hey, young soldier, you doing a good job. He was just a thorough guy, man. I'm gonna miss him, man. He was a good guy. He really was. A lot of guys became my friend after Julian was 14, 15, 16, 17, and oh, I mean, it's easy to do it then. You want a job and you want to be friends. But this guy was cool with me early in the game when we was moving along and nobody believed in us. He was still, he was decent towards advice or anything. He would talk about life, how to talk to my fighters, things like that. Just a really, really, really good guy, man. His fighters loved him.
Well, we'd be remiss if we didn't ask you your opinion. Now we know you're a Philly guy. We know you're Philly born, Philly bred, Philly through and through. Um, who do you think is going to have a better weekend, Danny Garcia or Carson Wentz?
Well, let me correct you on one thing. You said that Philly don't usually win them DC fights, but that's not quite true. Because Bernard Hopkins beat two guys from DC and William Joplin and Keith Holmes,
He was a freaking
and Danny Garcia beat Lamont Peterson. So I just want
no.
to correct you
No, he didn't. We
on
saw the
that.
fight.
Okay. Well, the official victory says Danny Garcia. Um, Man, I'm a big Eagles fan. I don't know what happened to Carson Wentz. I just can't explain how bad he. It's just really bad. But I don't want to pile on, man. I hope the guy comes out or whatever he's going through. I think that Danny Garcia is going to have a better weekend than Carson Wentz. But that doesn't mean I'm picking him to win. It just means I think that he's going to really, really perform. I think that Danny has he has a, and I'm gonna I'm gonna tell you guys something that I look for people in clutch moments. Danny has a calm demeanor and he doesn't try to do too much in big moments. Now you may can out hustle him and out move him and stuff like that, but you're not going to get him to try to overthink and try to do too much. And I think that that's one of the reasons why he's clutch. And I look for him to give a really good account of himself. I don't know if he's going to win. I really don't have a winner in this fight. Bro Spencer's a little bigger, Jab's a little better. I think he's a little more athletic, a little younger. But, it's hard to dominate Danny. He has a way about him that keeps you from like implementing your will on him, imposing your will on him. So I look for Danny to be very competitive in this fight.
Hey, I'm right there with you, Coach. I don't, being around the game and kind of seeing both guys up close and personal on a couple different occasions, I must say that I am impressed with Danny's ability to stay true to who Danny is. Who he is as a fighter. He knows who he is as a fighter. Whether we may view those as limitations or not, Danny is who he is, and he fights that way all the time. He has a
He
hell of a
stays
chin
within
too.
himself.
Yeah.
He stays within himself, and that's really important. And he does have a chin. I mean, listen, man, the ability to take a punch and not show visual effects of it what that does, that allows you to find just your spots in the fight. You know, like if you're always getting hurt or you getting
Mhm.
stopped early, you can't find spots. So Danny could lose a couple of rounds, but then he could find some momentum in the fight because his chin keeps him in fights.
Yeah.
You know, so he's a solid guy, man.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm right there with you, man. I think this is going to be a much better fight than what most people think. Now, like you said, it may not result in him getting the W, but I think it would be a good showing of himself. And for the most part, and a lot of people didn't agree with the decision in the Keith Thurman fight. Aside from that, which I thought that was kind of one-sided, Danny's always had a very good showing of himself. The Sean Porter fight was very tough. All those belts he won at 140, he came through in clutch moments. He was behind on a couple of those cards. So yeah, I'm right there with you. I think Danny's built from he's really tough. I tell you that.
I thought he lost the Peterson fight. That's just my opinion. I mean, yeah.
Man,
It was a
take
close
your ball
fight.
and go home, bro. Take your ball and go home, bro. It's okay. It's fine.
He did lose it. He did.
So, coach, listen. So we talked about changing Julian's life. Like I said, I follow you a lot. A lot of real estate, man. You seem to be pretty in tune with business. Was that something that you picked up from your grandfather? Or was that something you kind of just got as you got older, doing some reading? What got you into that?
Um, uh, well, at a certain point in my life, I didn't want to have to work for anybody anymore. So it's funny because in 2009, I stopped working a regular job. And that's when I started, around the time I started training Julian. So I could be a full-time trainer by that time. It's not just reading, it's just like just observing people's situations and seeing what was going on in the world and things like that. And I just figured out my niche, I wanted to get in real estate, want to open up my own business, eventually, I want to open up my own gym, just things that I want to do. And it was hard to get rich working for somebody else, so at a certain point I wanted to do my own thing. And that's what I decided to do.
It's amazing you say that. I was looking at an interview with Robert Kiyosaki from Rich Dad Poor Dad, and
Hmm.
his rich dad, his best friend's father, who was in real estate and a bunch of other things, told him, he said, never take a paycheck from anybody. Just take the life lessons and move on. But you should never take a paycheck from anybody. You should own or kind of determine your worth based on the value you put on your effort and what you're doing. And it's amazing when I look at that. And I've met men cut from the same cloth as you who have become very successful in life because they did not want to trade time for a paycheck and be kind
You're
of
right.
tethered to that.
You're right. You're right. And it's a tough choice because let's be honest, we all need money to live. So, it's a tough choice. And I apply that to boxing. The time that you spend, is not always you don't always receive monetary compensation for it. For real, you kind of work for free early in a fighter's career. But what you're doing is you're investing and you put in the time in and for a greater benefit later. And I think that the biggest thing that allowed me to do some of the things I've done in life is my morals. I got a good moral compass. There's certain things that I won't do, certain things that I won't take. And it kind of like it keeps me lessons, man, with doing certain things. I just won't do certain things. I'll boxing, real estate, whatever you want to say, is certain things I'm just not capable. I'm not capable of being slimy with somebody when it comes down to money, owing somebody money, burning them out of money. It's just not my thing. And I think that keeps me afloat because a lot of the business ventures that I do, and I'm by no means I'm a millionaire, nothing like that. I'm okay, you know what I'm saying? But I could take care of my family, but it keeps me from, looking over my shoulder, and not just in a physical aspect, but in the aspect of somebody that's going to do it back to me, what I did. You know what I mean? I'm a firm believer in karma, man. You know, things come back on you in life. You got to be careful what you do. So, there's nobody out here putting dirt on my name saying that I did a bad deal with them or anything like that. So, I just acquired a lot of things. I watched my grandfather shake and bake. You know, he was everything. He was actually a police officer. He was a loan shark. He did everything. You know, so I watched him do things, and I learned from him. You know what I mean? And but the thing is, he took care of all eight of his kids, and he took care of all his grandkids. So I watched him, and I kind of like learned a little, things from him, and then I try to, put my own little spin on it because I'm not my grandfather. I'm my own person, and and I just try to teach my fighters and any young guy that's around me. I just try to give them game. Like this is certain things that you need to do, man, and some listen, some don't. Uh, at the end of the day, everybody has a choice.
I love that. A police officer and a loan shark. I love it. In film,
Yeah, he was.
I love it. He probably
Yeah,
knew my
he
grandfather.
was.
He had to know
He
my.
was everything, man. My grandpa was a listen. My grandfather passed away in 2000. He was 68 years old, and you would have thought that how like when young people die 16 17 there's a lot of people because the kid is in school and he knows a lot. He's at his time of his life where he's associated with the most people. That's how you'd have thought my grandfather's funeral was. It was packed, jam packed, man. He was a real popular guy, man, and just he was just a good guy, and he knew a lot, so you know, um, he gave me a lot, the things that was priceless, about how to do things, and I just took it with me in life.
Awesome. Yeah, my grandfather stepped in. I didn't lose my dad. He didn't lose his life, but I lost him to the streets at a young age. And thank God we repaired our relationship. But my grandfather stepped in, and that's what he did for me. Was show me that hey, you have one life, you have one word, and when you lose either, it's hard to come back. But one you can't come back from. But he said if you lose your word, you have nothing. I think that was just the era they came out of.
Yep, yep, yep,
So, Coach, I wanna I
yep.
wanna switch it back to boxing real quick before we let you get out of here, man. I see you got a new prospect on the rise as a kid by the name of Kuko, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Can you tell us about him? Where is he going to be moving to, and what he's got coming up in the near future?
Romeo Cruz is his name, Romuel Cruz, but we call him Cuco. He's a 4-0 man. He's a pleasure to train. Man, I can't get enough for training him, man. He's a dynamite puncher. He's a talented kid, but more importantly, he's just a good person. I enjoy training him as much as I've ever enjoyed training anybody. I really do. Just a great kid. I just want to get the kid going. Hopefully, I can get him going and make a move with him, next year, and we see where he's gonna go. But I really, really enjoy the kid. I really, really like him.
And you got any other guys that you're training right now other than Kyron and Kuko? Anybody else that you wants to be on the lookout for that we should be following?
Zachary Ochoa out of Brooklyn.
Okay.
Yeah, I was reading up
Yeah.
on him. He seems to be your newest prospect,
Who? Cruz or Ochoa?
Zachary Ochoa.
He's not really a prospect. He's more like a contender. But I enjoy training him a lot too, man. He's a really good kid. Shows a lot of dedication. One thing about a fighter that I look for is if you're willing to invest in yourself. And he's willing to come down to Philadelphia, get to Airbnb, and makes the trip to travel. And I really enjoy training him. I like him a lot, and hopefully, we can get some opportunities next year and make some noise.
Well, Coach, before we let you get out of here, we're wondering if you'll play a game with us. We call it 5 rounds, one punch.
All right,
So
sure, go ahead.
I'm gonna ask you 5 questions, and just respond with the first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
Okay? Don't shake your head, man. Come on, you've gone through this before. My partner over there just hangs me out to dry, Coach, but that's okay. I pray for him. Um, all right, round one: cheesesteak or fried fish sandwich.
Cheesesteak.
Ooh, that hurt. Eagles, 76ers.
Eagles.
Love or respect?
Respect.
Sorry, my bill didn't want to work on that one. Would you rather have your kids admire you for what you've done or for what you've said?
Mm. For what I've done.
Your epitaph on your gravestone. What does it say?
Stephen Breadman Edwards.
That's it. That's enough, huh?
R.I.P. Stephen Breadman Edwards.
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate you playing that with us. I was easy.
Yep, I appreciate you.
Hopefully,
I
if you come back,
appreciate you guys for having me.
hopefully if you come back again, I'll give you the third degree on these questions.
Hey man, listen, I got a lot of free time now. Gyms is closed, so just call me anytime.
Well,
Call me
ladies and
anytime.
gentlemen, this is going to be a weekly segment with Stephen Breadman. So, what do you when you go out? Do you go out looking for new fighters, or do people like suggest them to you, or do you just like spot? Do you spot one just happen chance? How do you find them?
I've never asked a fighter to train them. Never. If you do that, I keep telling you guys this is an animalistic sport. So if you go to a fighter and ask a fighter to train, he won't pay you. He gonna disrespect you. He gonna think you need him more than he needs you. You don't want to go through that. So every situation I've ever been in, a fighter has asked me to train him. And if I have the time, first of all, because I don't like to train a lot of guys at one time, because it takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours to do a whole complete gym session. And there's only so many hours in a day. So if you got 10 guys, you're really not training them all. So if I have the time, and then if I see certain things in them, I don't want to train a guy that I don't believe can be a contender. You don't have to be able to be a world champion, because that's a lot of times that's just good fortune and being at the right place at the right time. But I should at least be able to see contender potential in you. And then you just have to have certain characteristics that I like. I don't want to have an adversarial relationship with a kid. I don't want a kid that thinks he knows everything and wants to argue and, constantly go word for word with me. And I want a kid that's willing to work hard, and that's just that. I mean, it when it's like dating a woman, who you're going to go out on a second date with, and what kind of kid be like, what, he's talented, but he's not my kind of kid. It. And that's just that. But I've never recruited the fighter, never asked the fighter to work with him. I don't do that. To me, that's a no-no in this sport.
Well, Coach, I know a fighter. I think you would be really good for him. I don't know what your cutoff age is, but
Who?
I'm trying to get this guy to get in the ring. He said he wanted Tyson, but it would only be in a BJJ match with a gi on. But I'm trying to get this guy to your right to start training, because he trains MMA, but he needs a really good fighter that'll whip him into shape. Because we're trying to get
Oh,
him.
my man right here?
Yeah, we're trying to get
Oh,
him in the ring with Amanda Nunes, and he's scared.
come on up to Philly, man. Let's do a 2-day workout. Let's see what he got.
Bro,
Hey, coach.
I pay for your ticket.
Yeah, I'll work him
Coach,
out, man.
Coach, don't
I'll work
listen to
him
this
out.
man. This man is blowing smoke. Do not listen to
I'm
this
trying
guy.
to get him. I'm trying to get him out of his shell.
He been
Seriously.
trying
He
to get
look.
me beat up. He been trying to get me beat up for a while, coach. So we ain't gonna do
Let me
that. We
tell
ain't
you
playing that kind
something.
of
Let me
game.
tell you something. You know what's funny? I could tell he could throw down a little bit. He got that air about him, man, where he looked
Yeah.
like,
Mm,
he could put some work in, man. Listen.
don't believe it, coach. That's how we all look in Florida. Don't believe
He's
it, coach. We
Mr.
all look like this.
He's Mr. T's nephew. I'm serious. He got the
Oh,
same
you live in Florida? I got
Yeah.
my brother lives in you live in South Florida?
No, we in Central Florida. We in Tampa.
He can get
Okay. Yeah, I got a brother that lives in South Florida. My nephew was actually about to turn pro. I made you know, start training him more. When he comes, he won nationals 3 times. He's really good. They live out of Miami.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's 19 right now. I told my brother to keep him amateur one more year, try to get him some fights. It's not physical things. He's got to get a little bit more mature. So I might be spending some time down there, seeing what I could do with him.
Hey man, hit us up, coach. It's only a 3-hour drive, man. We can make it down to South Florida, hang out a little bit, man. It ain't too bad.
Yep. I'm really we're about to make that push next year with him.
This guy right over there to your right.
How old is he?
How old?
Too old, coach. I was born in the 80s. That's old enough. Don't listen to this guy. Don't listen to this guy.
If you remember Diggstown, if Diggs could do it, you could.
Man,
oh man, that was a great movie.
Yeah,
Lou Gossett Jr. Lou Gossett Jr. Right? That was a great movie.
If he could do it,
that was a great movie.
You could do it. He just get over his fear of Amanda Nunes, and he'll be fine.
Man, I ain't messing with that woman. Man. Hey, but look, coach,
let me tell y'all a quick story about Florida.
Okay.
About my brother. He's been a bachelor for years down there, right? So about I'm gonna say about 15 years ago, right? Okay. I come down, and we always used to like spar. This what got me to stop sparring, man. We spar and just messing around there. Now, mind you, we out drinking and doing all kinds of stuff we ain't supposed to be doing, right?
Right.
This kid is in the gym, and he's about 18, 19, ex-football player. And I guess I was maybe 175, 180 pounds at the time. Kid was about same weight as me, but a little more stockier. And he said he wanted some work. So I said, all right, cool. So we start working. The kid hit me with a right hand, man. And my leg went numb. And I didn't let nobody in the gym know it. And I stopped him. Like within 30 seconds, I like unleashed on him. But not because I was trying to show off. I stopped that kid because he hurt me. And I said, you know what, man? You can't play boxing, man. I'm out here drinking and partying all night. Then I want to come to the gym and sweat that stuff out. That kid hurt me, and I was like, man, it was really like unprofessional of me. But I'm like, man, I got to keep this joker off of me, man. He didn't really know enough, but he was strong as an ox, man. And my whole leg went numb. Like I was like beating on my leg, like, damn. Man, that let me know to stop messing around and out here doing God knows what, and then want to go jump in the damn ring. You can't play around like that, man. Yeah,
Coach,
man.
listen, man, truer words have never been spoken. I'm in the gym 4-5 days a week, and I'm in there with some kids that's like 19, 20.
They hurt you.
Man, you got to be thinking of that, man, because they moving real fast. Hey, I ain't,
Yep. People think an 18, 19-year-old kid can't hurt you. 18, 19-year-old kid could put you in the grave, man.
I'm trying to
that's the strong. That's probably listen. You getting your first little induction of grown strength when you get a day. Now you get stronger as you get older. But man, an 18, 19-year-old kid can hurt you, man. You got to be super careful of, especially if he's rotting. Because the kid I was sparring, he was rotting. He was trying to knock my head off, man. I was like, man.
Oh, so then you shouldn't have felt bad for hurting because he was trying to knock your head off.
He was, but he was like 18, 19,
yeah,
man.
But I'm saying, Coach, I know exactly what you mean, man.
You know what I'm saying? He was a little green. I shouldn't have had to do all of that. I should have. If I was been sharp and I would have been like in the gym on a normal basis, I would have been able to put him in his place without hurting him. But I wasn't.
Right.
I had him boxed in about almost a year, and he opened up on me, man. I was like, what the fuck? I mean the curse. But I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it, man. And that let me know, like, you know what? I need to stop playing around and just coming to the gym doing this when I ain't supposed to be doing this, man.
That's hilarious.
But,
like you said, the truth box, man. The truth come out in there. So
when you
truth machine, man.
I kept thinking about my father-in-law before he passed. Man, he was talking about when he was young, he was always a big, strong guy. He was Mr. Football coming out of Fort Myers and Mr. Basketball, just country strong. He said as he got older, he'd go in the gym and he'd get in the ring with some guys. And he said he saw this guy. He was supposed to be his next guy he was going to get in just to move around with. he saw this guy just hit the dude in the arm and knock him down. He said he just took the gloves off, unwrapped his hand, told him, I got to get back to work. He said he had to tell a lie to get out of there that day. He said, when you see somebody that's that much stronger than you before you face them, just leave. Make up something.
Yeah, it wasn't worth it.
He said, I wasn't getting paid for that.
That's crazy. Wow.
I don't blame him, man.
Well, if I could talk this cat into conquering his fears and getting in the ring, we're going to send him to Philly. Or when you come
back.
Man,
let me know, man. Let me know. I definitely could work.
Strong as an ox. That's what he tells me.
Coach, it's been a pleasure. Hey, we're going to make sure we tap in with you, brother. We're going to make sure we send you more requests in the future because, man, you're a real dope brother, man. We just like to have you on the A. Sometimes if it ain't about boxing, it just be about whatever's going on, man. We just like to have you on and be a part of the show.
Yep. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Stephen Breadman Edwards. He left himself. I was going to move him to the green room.
Nah, we don't want to take up too much of Coach time. Man, he got kids in Zoom school and all that. Just stuff comes up. But listen, that was an absolute pleasure to do, man. He gave us a lot of nuggets, man. So, hey, if y'all have more questions in regards to what you just heard, y'all want us to follow up with him, hey, drop us a comment. And, we'll make sure we get more information from him and get some of the answers to your questions. And hopefully we can get it back on sooner or later. I mean, that was dope. I enjoyed that.
It was really good. We got a lot of nuggets in that one. A lot of nuggets. Hey, shout out to everybody who tunes in and watches. Sorry we weren't able to really get to the chat today. But, we appreciate your comments. We appreciate you watching. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. We became fans, which is kind of cool when you can become fans in the midst of the interview. And my partner asked some pretty good questions. I'm proud of him. I didn't even have to ask him.
Hey, man. Yeah, there you go, man. Hey, YouTube University always helps, man. I don't know. Maybe some of you are rubbing off on me. Maybe it's your outward Bryant Gumbo. Who knows?
Really?
Al Roker. More Al Roker than Brian. Well, old Bryant Gumbo, like Bryant Gumbo from like the 80s. But definitely more Al Roker-esque. No. I appreciate you, man. I love you, man.
No, you don't. Not with those comments. But you know what? That's okay. That's okay. We're going to see if you got the courage to go train with this dude. Amanda, look out. We're going to get him ready for you. You want to close us out there?
Hey, man, listen. We appreciate everybody for tapping in with us, man. Hey, we're going to be bringing you more of these nuggets, more of this good stuff because my brother right here to my right or my left, whichever one he is, he got all the plugs. So I'm going to ride his coattail. We're going to have who knows next. Make sure you tap with us, like, share, and subscribe. Hey, it's holiday season. Spread a little joy. We will see y'all Sunday after fight. We can talk about what happened.
11:30.
Peace.